All right, we're going to start recording here, and we're going to go over our avatar pipeline in Mixamo to start with. Those of you that have used Mixamo before, this is just going to be a refresher. Those of you that have never used it before, welcome to Mixamo. Mixamo is a Adobe website that is a repository for 3D characters and animations. Like I said at the beginning of class, this is really the one and only time I wanted you using animations from Mixamo. This is a motion capture class, so it would be really bad to use animations from this website instead of your own custom motion capture that we're supposed to be recording in the future. But we have one more class next week before we finally use our own motion capture footage. So today it's fine to use this library. That being said, Mixamo is one of many different websites and softwares that have character libraries for avatars and animations. So Mixamo is not the only site to do this stuff. I just think it's the easiest for a class of mostly newbies. All right, so you do need to log in with your Adobe account to Mixamo to be able to use it. First thing, I'm just going to look at the characters. So browse characters. Up top, this website is incredibly simple. There's only two categories, characters and animations. Characters, you have cartoony characters to work with. Everything from Mousy the Mouse, she's super cute with this cotton tail, to Maria JJ Warrior Woman, to Mannequin Person. Bunch of cartoony characters, right? You get the idea. If you select one of these characters, you can then click on animations up top, and you will get a bunch of animations. Seems like there's 52 pages of motion capture animations here. Somebody tell me some sort of animation they want to put on our little mannequin dude here. Anything, shout it out. Dancing, can we be more specific? No twerking. Let's just look at dancing. We have silly dancing, we have jazz dancing, we have hip hop dancing. Oh, we do have a dancing twerk here. All right. There we go. I don't know why that didn't show up. So I just click one of these and then the character has that animation. This works out. This has nothing to do with Unreal at this point. This is just a 3D model and we're putting animations on 3D models. You can use this stuff today. If you wanted to make a film in Cinema 4D, you could use the same stuff. This is platform agnostic. This has nothing to do with Unreal. Oh yeah, oh wow. So Mixamo also has these sliders off to the right to adjust things like the stance or the speed. I can change the character arm space. If I take this way down, the arms are going to start to intersect with its body. It's basically minimizing the rotation on the shoulder joint. The defaults are the defaults because they look good just to start with. But you can also import your own characters into Mixamo. I'm going to mess around with the overdrive. Overdrive is just faster, faster, or slow. Speed is also something that we can change in Unreal Engine too. You can also mirror the animations if you wanted to flip them. I can let you experiment with that. It's fine for now. So part of our assignment is to get a character from Mixamo or somewhere else and get animation from Mixamo or somewhere else and bring that into Unreal. That's what we're looking at right now. I also want to show you, if you did have a character that didn't come from Mixamo, perhaps, maybe you downloaded a character from somewhere, or you created the character from scratch. I don't know. Maybe you 3D modeled the character. In the class Discord, I uploaded this file called smmarkerman.fbx. Full disclosure, Markerman is just a guy with motion capture markers on him. It's just a 3D cartoony character. He's actually from Mixamo, but I deleted his skeleton. I deleted his rig. And that's what I uploaded here. Because I want to show you how to use the Mixamo auto rigger. So let's say you had a character that did not have a skeleton. It did not have a rig. You would go to Mixamo and you would click on Upload Character. Be careful when you upload character because it's going to get rid of anything that you've done previously. It's going to ask you to import that character. So I'm going to browse to where I downloaded that at sm_markerman. Depending on how complex your model is, this could take a little bit, but usually it's pretty fast. This is Mixamo's auto rigger. So not only is it a repository for 3D models, avatars, and animations, but it also has auto rigging capabilities. And remember, auto rigging is going to automatically create a rig for us. It's going to automatically create a skeleton because we don't know how to do those things manually. So we're using these softwares to do this. All right, it uploaded the model. It didn't give me an error. That's good. For best results, have your character in a T-pose and fingers spread apart. All right, they are. It does work with things that are not in T-poses or even symmetrical, but your results will vary. Part of your assignment for next week is to experiment with this auto rigger. See if you can break it. See if you can auto rig something that is not a humanoid character with 2 legs, 2 arms, and 1 head. Mess around and experiment. What happens when you tell Mixamo that the cube that you imported has knees and a groin? What kind of results do you get when you do that? This is the next step of the auto rigger. It's asking me to place these indicators on spots on my model. So I'm going to put the chin on the chin and be precise here. It's not an exact science, but you don't want to say the wrist is here unless you're trying to break it. The wrist seems to be about here. The elbows are like here. The knees are here, center of the joint. And the groin is like the hip joint, like the bottom of the hip joint. All right. Zoom back out. A standard skeleton, that's fine. We don't have, this character doesn't have fingers. Or it does have fingers, actually. We could try that. Let's just do standard skeleton. Click next and let that process. They could take a couple minutes to do this, but usually it's pretty fast. You know, if you did this manually, this would take you minimum a half an hour to do if you were an expert. Probably a couple hours otherwise from scratch. This auto rigger is going to turn this into an animatable character. Here we have an idle sequence on the character already with finger animation too. Just like that. This character did not have a skeleton. I imported it to Mixamo, and now it has a skeleton. It has a rig. Are you satisfied with this? All right, move on to the next step. Here's the skeleton view, actually. All right, I click next. I click next. Now that character, I can put any sort of animation on. Now there is some pinching happening in the shoulder joints. If I make this in place. Could I do a little bit better job with placing the shoulder? Probably. I'd have to go back and try again. So right now it seems a little bit like a fabric doll, sort of. It's like pinched, and top of that arm is getting kind of gross, especially from the back here. These are the limitations of these auto rigging things. You don't know anything about 3D, you're not going to be able to really modify this, right? You're kind of stuck with it. You can go back and run the auto rigging again, see if you get better results if you say the shoulder is here rather than out here. But we're not going to get into things like painting skin weights or anything that you would need to really fix this sort of a problem manually. Question. What was your question?
About skin weights.
Yeah. You love skin weights?
Oh, I had to do it once and I had like a time off.
Painting skin weights sucks. It's an incredibly tedious process. Or for people that don't know and hate themselves and want to know what skin weights are, think of it sort of like a heat map for a 3D character. You click on a joint, say the thigh joint, the right thigh joint, and then there's a heat map indicating which parts of the skin are supposed to deform based off of the movement of that joint. Mixamo is doing all of this for us, but we do have that kind of weird pinching that's happening at the top of the shoulder. If we wanted to fix that, we could go into Maya and kind of smooth that area out, but we would have to learn that, and it would take a minimum of 3 weeks to learn how to do that confidently. Incredibly tedious. Like I said, there's people whose whole job is to do this sort of a thing. There are AI tools that, this is kind of an AI tool that can help with these sorts of things. It's funny, oddly enough, if you would have asked me like 5 years ago, yeah, we're going to have this AI stuff and it's going to be great. It's going to take away a lot of the trivial, tedious processes like painting skin weights and rigging and rotoscoping and keying green screens. And yeah, a lot of those things AI has helped with, but mostly what AI has helped with is just getting to the final result, skipping over all of those tool sets, right? So there's not that many AI tools that do a really good job at this sort of stuff. They kind of invested all their energy in just making the final product and not making the tools for the artists. They just replaced the artists, right? Okay, so we imported a model without a rig. We rigged it in Mixamo. Why don't we look at AccuRig as well? AccuRig is a piece of software. You can download it for free. It's made by this company called Real Illusion. Real Illusion is a useful company to know in the world of motion capture. But you can download this for free. You should be able to download it on these computers. They're just going to wipe it every day. I downloaded it on this computer this morning. Similar sort of thing, though. I open up the program, and it's going to tell me, load in my sample character. So if I browse to... Actually, it looks like we have some sample characters here. Let's just use one of these. Let's use, who should we use? Bianca, Craig, or Pete? All right, no preference. I'm using the first one. This is Bianca. This looks like a photogrammetry scan of a human being, which is kind of weird because she's slightly non-symmetrical and rotated, but maybe I'm getting myself into a little bit of trouble here. Don't want to rotate her like that much. I guess this is good enough. But essentially, you just set the center line here. We'll get okay results with this. Rig the body. Click the rig body button. It's going to process it. And it's going to give me a bunch of points, just like Mixamo did, to place around the body. Is that where the wrist is? Oops. Is that where the wrist is? You want to click on the symmetrical button, usually. Although if your character is not symmetrical, then like the scan is not symmetrical, then I need to move all these dots individually. What is this? The neck, the tip of the neck, right underneath the chin, the base of the neck, the collarbones. Remember when we put on the dots for the motion capture suits? And I had you kind of feel around for where the joint is? That's where we're placing the dots. Place at the shoulder joint. I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing this. I'm just going to click next. Rig right hand. How many fingers? 5. These riggers also work pretty good with other sorts of humanoid characters that are not human. They don't have to have 5 fingers. It could be like lizard monster that has different proportions than a human. But as long as they have 2 arms and 2 legs, they work pretty all right. Here it's rigged the hand. That looks good to me. I'm just going to click rig left hand. It's identical. Click calibrate. It's going to do the skin weights very quickly. And the result's going to be pretty much exactly what we had with Mixamo. A character that is now rigged that has some sort of idle animation on it. AccuRig has more nuance than Mixamo. It's up to you which one you want to use. They both achieve the same sort of thing. We could then export this from AccuRig and bring it into Unreal, which we will do after break. If we go to Add Motions, oops. If I go to the Add Motions button down here in the bottom right, similar to Mixamo, now I have a big library of animations. I think they do have some free animations, but most of these are not free. If you want free, do Mixamo. Or if you want free, do your own motion capture animation. These do not have facial animations. These softwares also do not make facial animation rigs. Then I could click export and export the FBX file to Unreal. It even has an Unreal option. So those are 2 auto rigging softwares that you guys can use. If you want to learn manual rigging and painting skin weights, go for it. But that's not something we really have class time to do. Any questions about any of those? So we're going to take a break. When we come back from break, I'm going to have you run through this pipeline and export it into Unreal. And then we'll look at sequencer and cameras and rendering in Unreal. Sound good? What? Oh, God damn it.